Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only JasmyCoin. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, use code FRESH for 33% off. Highly recommend joining the community. You get a portfolio review. It is going to be the most chaotic and amazing time over the next couple months. Make sure you have the right coins. Make sure you have the right people looking at your portfolio. Join the community. You learn how to trade. You get a bunch of value, consistent updates. Highly recommend it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, haven't talked about JasmyCoin in quite a while. Last time I did this red box means I must have talked about this coin practically a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, but I decided to talk about it today. Had some zones marked up, which I mean, damn, they practically did get hit very, very nicely. So if we break it down, right, we can see that when we go to the bottom zone, we had the all-time lows. Then, of course, we had this zone over here, this blue one that I'm moving. Right, we were below help because we were, below all of this relevant support, turning into resistance because we're below it. We smashed through it, right? We smashed through it. We consolidated for a bit. Boom, boom, created a higher high. But then when we had a sell-off, we took out all of this structure, right? We took up all of this support, filling up the last of the imbalance, getting a perfect retest off of these lows, these low areas over here, right? These low areas here, and then going up higher. Now, I expect JasmyCoin to kind of recover quickly. There is a lot of imbalance, I would say up until 3 cents. So I would expect this coin to go up a decent amount. Overall, I do think this coin will perform well, multiple reasons, right? In terms of just structure alone, if we talk about structure, there are so many areas that Jasmy could be going up to, right? Jasmy could go even all the way up to 10x. Actually, a little bit more, 15x technically. Now, if we go and look at the market cap, we can see that 15x is 15 billion market cap, which is not impossible. Like 15 billion market cap is not low, but it's not high. And you got to remember, there's going to be a lot more money this cycle. But people say, oh, wait, guys, look, there's a lot more cryptos. Guys, in terms of the official registered ones, the ones that really made it out are in top, like whatever, top 1,000 or whatever the case is, in the top couple thousand. There's only like about 300 to 400 that are actually were considered legit new projects that were added over this from last cycle to now. And the difference between last cycle to now is we expect at least 2.5 to 4 times the amount of money. So the ratio is still better. Quality projects are still going to get a lot of pumps. You have to remember a lot of projects also did die out, and some projects that are going to have a double pump, some of them are just going to have a mini double pump, right? There's new spotlights, new everything. So you got to remember that too when it comes to coins. So 15 billion market cap is more than doable, which means I would expect this coin to hit all-time highs. Now, how would I monitor this coin? Well, ladies and gentlemen, very, very, very simple. I would like to see Jasmy to start eventually coming up and start closing above. If I get this really accurate, I'll say this is actually really accurate. I want it to start closing above 0.033, right? Once we kind of start closing above there, look at all this imbalance. This coin should fly high to the minimum. And then this is really worst dirt case scenario is going into this monthly institutional candle. I think if Jasmy was a complete flop, just based off the structure and manipulation alone in crypto, I would expect this coin to pump and get you a 6x from here, which is not bad if this was the worst case scenario, right? We have a lot of imbalance on the left side. We have this monthly institutional candle, and then we have obviously a big wick rejection. Now, here's the deal. I do think Jasmy will go higher. So, looking at this price zone isn't going to be too relevant unless, like I said, it would be a complete flop. Now, let's say it's not a complete flop. Let's say it's decent, good, or even great. Where can Jasmy go, right? Where can Jasmy go? Well, if we look at structure, ladies and gentlemen, and relevant zones, if we break it down to the smaller time frame, we can see that there is a decent amount of structure over here by the 24-cent area. So if Jasmy did decently well, a little bit better than decent, then the next area would be 24 cents. So that would be, if we take it from the bottom of here, take it from the bottom, more or less, doesn't have to be perfect. Go up here, boom, that would be like 12 times your money, okay? 12 times your money. But I do believe at the bare minimum, this coin should be looking to be sweeping these highs over here. And the thing is, Jasmy can do even better than that. Jasmy could go upwards of 20 to 25 billion market cap. And if that were the case, it would most likely would go to the 1.6 area, which would be 55 cents, right? 55 cents to 75 cents can be the main area, right? This zone over here is where I would be looking for Jasmy take profits, okay? Boom, we take it more or less from here to here. So a 26 to 27x for me is reasonably to highly likely for this coin. I do believe that at the bare minimum, in my opinion, we would be taking out all-time highs. So 40 cents, 45 cents would be my bare minimum target, because you got to remember, people, that, you know, moving a couple of cents with this coin is not the hardest thing in the world, right? It does not require the most amount of money. We are 1 billion. Like I said, if we went to 10 billion, we are at, boom, 20 cents. We go to 20 billion, we are at 40 cents, right? 40 cents, 20 billion market cap. That is very, very likely. We overperform, in my opinion. We can go to even 30 billion market cap, which would be what? Upwards of 60 cents. So which would be exactly the 1.6 area. So I really, really do think this coin is going to do well. We have to remember that there's going to be a lot of liquidity coming into the markets, right? We can see Bitcoin has been very, very bullish the last 5 weeks, and I do expect Bitcoin overall to be fairly bullish, right? If there are any pullbacks for something like Bitcoin, that would mean you would get some decent pullback retracements for something like Jasmy, but I don't think Bitcoin's going to have a full-on fundamental pullback, right? We had this big burst, we went sideways, we had this big burst, we're probably going to go sideways, and then we're going to continue to push up. I kind of expect it to be like this, right? When it really started to get moving, right? We had a big burst, sideways, big burst, decent pullback, and then big burst, obviously a little bit sideways, keep bursting up, right? I really, really expect us to be overall strong. We can see once Bitcoin broke out of even the 30K zone all the way back here, look how nice and diagonally it was going. Big burst, then yeah, it sure consolidated a little bit more. Boom, liquidity trap. Boom, 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 boom. It was moving really, really quick. So, you know, there may be a trap, maybe a big pullback here and there, but nothing too gigantic. I don't really expect, you know, any pullbacks back down to 91K, especially not below 91K. You know, maximum I would really, really expect it is 98K. And that's like the biggest of the big, if that were to happen, right? And of course, if that were to happen, obviously Jasmy would drop. Bitcoin dominance is looking to be coming to our zones, which we talked about, 60 to 62%, right? That is the most relevant zone for something like Bitcoin dominance, right? We have the top of the support and resistance here, but this one is much more stronger. So I would not be surprised if we go to 60 or even like 59.50% wick in, and then continue going up. Remember, people thought altcoin season was happening because we were going down here, but ladies and gentlemen, all we were doing is, you know, retesting a very, very big monthly zone before pushing up. And now I would not, I would not expect it to be different this time. I would expect boom and then a burst to the upside. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.